Although RuneScape players might have a strong preference towards whole large fish and other seafood, the world of Gielinor actually has quite a diverse and sometimes strange selection of food and drink, and it has come to my attention that these strange foods and beverages are quite unknown due to the fact that they just don't heal your hit points very much. But the character of a dish simply can't be measured by how fast it fills you up. Hello everyone, my name is Avra, and today I bring you on the first part of my world tour through Gielinor in search of the best tasting, most bizarre, and sometimes most disgusting food and drinks RuneScape has to offer. We begin our journey in the sweltering Caridian desert, the home of the enigmatic kebab. Now I'm sure every player is intimately familiar with this item because of our lonely drunken dwarf friend who will offer you one in exchange for 2 seconds of your time, but what is the real story behind the famous kebab? When speaking with Ali the camel seller, he tells us that camels aren't just a source of meat, implying that kebabs are made with camel meat. This makes sense as there is a more invigorating kebab called the Abuogee kebab, made from the Abuogee camel, which is a more aggressive camel found in the southern reaches of the desert. These camels derive their name from the Majorat Akthanikos, who you free in the quest Anakara's Lament. Akthanikos supposedly took on the form of a camel and trained the Abuogee to fight for him during the Second Age, as strange as that sounds. The camels believed he was some kind of camel god, since he had crafted an amulet that allowed him to communicate with them. It was this amulet that you receive from Akthanikos himself when you free him from Anakara's prison. Anyways, the player can slaughter Abuogee camels for their meat and actually cook an Abuogee kebab themselves, provided they have a tomato and onion. If successfully cooked, it heals 19 hit points, and will prompt you to say, "Nice." Kebabs are also one of the only foods in RuneScape that heal a variety of hit points depending on the quality of the kebab. The worst of which prompts the text, "That tasted a bit dodgy, you feel a bit ill." Back in the day, this dodgy kebab used to actually do damage to the player, but this was later removed as you could inadvertently kill yourself by eating it. I would imagine since Jagex is located in Cambridge, they, along with much of the UK population, have experienced a dodgy kebab at least 1 or 2 times. Another strange tidbit is when examining camels in Al-Kharid, the examine text states that it looks like this camel would like a nice kebab, and since we now know that kebabs are made from the meat of camels, these camels are in fact cannibals and desire the succulent flesh of their brethren. Moving on through the desert, we arrive in Narda, where Roka sells chalk ice from his stall labeled Rock's Chalk's Box. He's a beloved member of Narda's community as he provided them with ice-cold chocolate popsicles when the town was still cursed with the inability to draw water from the River Alid. If consumed, chalk ice has the same effect as a water skin and heals 6 hit points. Roka references that he is able to keep the popsicles frozen in the desert heat with a magical box. It is entirely possible that this magic box is in fact just an ice cooler that can be purchased from any of the Slayer Masters. After the Spirits of the Elite quest, a water merchant named Ali the Carter, assumedly with ties to Ali Morrisane, the unscrupulous businessman in Al-Kharid, complains that he will soon go out of business because the citizens of the town don't have to purchase his 1,000 gold coin water skins anymore. Roka, with his chocolate popsicles on the other hand, makes no such protest to the player after the curse of the town is lifted. Likely due to the fact that even though the town has water again, the people of Narda still love his chocolate popsicles. Finally, moving on from Narda, we find ourselves in the town of Sophanum, a town dealing with evil demigods, plagues, and locust swarms. The last of which makes it extremely easy to find some locusts to kill and eat some tasty locust meat. Not healing much in the way of your health, Locust Meat provides a lovely piece of text when consumed, stating, "Juices spurt into your mouth as you chew. It's tastier than it looks." As there isn't much else in the way of exotic food in Sophanum, we go north and speak with Al-Shabim, the leader of the desert Bedouin nomads. He tells us about the Bedouin ambrosia, otherwise known as the Tenti pineapple. This is a special pineapple that is grown in a secret location in order to prevent thieves from stealing them. It's used to bribe the guard in the tourist trap quest and allow us further into the desert mining camp to rescue Anna. If examined, it simply reads the most delicious of pineapples, though when cut up with a knife, you are left with regular pineapple slices. Obviously, Jagex should immediately devote resources to create a quest where players find the secret location of these pineapples. Anyway, that pretty much sums up the exotic items from the Caridian Desert. To summarize, we have the infamous kebabs, a meaty meal made from Majorat-worshipping camels, Roka's chuck ice cooled with his magical or maybe not so magical cooler, crunchy locust meat, and finally the elusive Tenti pineapple. Now, we travel across the River Lum to the city of Lumbridge, and since there is nothing exotic about the food in Lumbridge, we head down through the cellar and into the ancient goblin tunnels before arriving at the engineering marvel that is Dorgesh Khan, the city of the cave goblins. If you're low level going through the Lumbridge swamps, make sure you bring a non-open flame light source, a tinderbox, any poison, and a spiny helmet, and also give the video a like if you liked it. The cave goblin subterranean cuisine utilizes all the various flora and fauna of the underground region to create a variety of unique dishes that probably cost a fortune if they were to be served in a restaurant above ground, but fortunately for you, you can purchase them very cheaply from the various street food vendors around the city. The cave goblin menu consists of the bat shish kebab, which is simply a giant bat skewered onto a stick and roasted until crunchy. Eel sushi, which is raw cave eel wrapped in subterranean swampweed. My personal favorite, severed wall beast fingers roasted in a sauce made from a subterranean fern. Roast cave crawler fillets. The extremely popular frog burger made with a wheat-free bun for all you gluten-free people. Giant frog spawn gumbo, green gloop soup made with boiled cave slimes, cave larvae, aka grubs a la mode, which doesn't have to mean with ice cream, by the way, as the term simply means in the style. And for these grubs, I would imagine roasted with a bit of spice would probably taste alright. And last but not least, steamed loach. A loach is a local underground cave fish which looks a little bit like a flounder. It can be assumed from their menu items that cave goblins have a decent slayer level, as their diet consists of several low and mid-level slayer monsters. It should be noted also that if you plan to travel to Dorgesh Khan to try these dishes, it is unknown if the dishes that contain otherwise poisonous elements, such as the cave slimes and cave crawlers, have anything done to these dishes to nullify the poisonous elements, or if the cave goblins have simply adapted to the poisonous animals and are not harmed by them. I love that the cave goblins have such a cool and unique cuisine to really make their city and culture feel a bit more lived in. It's sad that none of these foods could actually heal players more, because it might at least make some cool and unique food options for underground snowflake ironmen or something. Or perhaps giving players the option to learn how to make some of these items themselves. Combining Slayer and cooking would be a lovely way to introduce some more early game content. I'd take anything really that shakes up the current seafood meta in Runescape. Please, Jagex, I'm begging you, make wall beast fingers heal more than 2 hit points. I think this is extremely important for the game's health. Anyways, we're now ready to leave Dorgesh Khan. When leaving the city, always stick with your trusty cave goblin guide to lead you back to the Lumbridge cellar. And before we leave the Kingdom of Mithlin entirely, we're going to check in with the King's Banquet table for several of the more interesting dishes prepared by you, or soon to be prepared by you, in the Recipe for Disaster quest. Now, you might have wondered if a tour of unique foods would include dishes from Recipe for Disaster. Instead of me telling you about how you save the world with these foods, yada 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 boring, I'm gonna just tell you about the foods themselves, which you might have overlooked when you did the quest. First, the Dwarven rock cake. Now, strangely enough, I find it hard to tell if the Dwarven rock cake has actual rocks in it, as there are no rocks in the initial ingredients we give to Rohak, just normal cake ingredients. Though it can be assumed that adding the rocks is his secret ingredient in his secret family recipe. So the Dwarven rock cake is probably just a really overcooked cake with some pebbles lodged in it. If you are looking for a more authentic rock cake with a bit less cake and a bit more rock, then look no further than the ogre city of Gutanath, which kind of sounds like a lazy person's way of saying goodnight in German. There you will find a whole cake made out of stone. Unfortunately, diplomatic relations with the ogres are spotty at best, and they won't allow you to formally purchase a rock cake, and you will have to resort to theft in order to acquire one for yourself. Due to physical limitations, your ability to enjoy these delicacies is severely limited, so unless you are in fact a dwarf or ogre, it's probably best to leave this one be. Heading back to the banquet table, there are 2 more dishes of note. The first is Abuogee's snake stuffed with sliced red banana and cheeky nut paste. To create this, you first need to kill a giant snake found in the cave on Crash Island. Next, add sliced red banana, which supposedly tastes like a regular banana, but with a subtle hint of raspberries. And finally add the paste of the mysterious cheeky nut, which some say has magical properties and was what gifted the apes of Ape Atoll their heightened intelligence in the first place. You take your uncooked snake down to the catacomb underneath the Temple of Marimbo, the monkey goddess, and roast it on a stone. Funnily enough, this is one of those items that likes to make fun of the game's feature to use items on one another. If you don't slice the red banana before using it on the snake, you get an oddly stuffed snake, and if you inspect it closely, you can actually see where your character shoved the whole banana in the snake's mouth. When cooked correctly, you can choose to eat the snake yourself, upon which you will remark that it tastes like chicken, which is a shame because we went to an awful lot of work to give Abuogee his favorite dish when we could have just given him a cooked chicken, maybe? Anyways, on to the last interesting food I'll be mentioning from Recipe for Disaster, and the last item in this video. The Brule Supreme is the most spectacular food item in Runescape. Although it has a simple base of corn flour, milk, and cream, it requires 3 unique ingredients before it can be properly cooked. The first is a vanilla pod plucked from a vanilla plant found in the densest portions of the Karazi jungle. The second is an egg from a giant evil chicken. And the third is some cinnamon, which is created by grinding a branch from the Dwarven tree. This means that the Dwarven tree is in fact a cinnamon tree. And I always thought it was fitting that the staff we carve from the cinnamon tree to grant us access to the fairy realm, the Dwarven staff, is essentially just a giant cinnamon stick. Very magical. Anyways, back to the brulee. We finally assemble the ingredients, then find an ancient token amongst the black dragons near the evil chicken's lair that we use to summon one of the last fairy dragons. A peace-loving race that was brought to Gielinor by Guthics in the First Age. The tiny fairy dragon agrees to flambe the dessert, thus finishing the Brule Supreme. Then we go and feed it to a guy named after pottery. Well everyone, I hope you enjoyed part 1 of exotic foods in RuneScape. Subscribe to be notified of part 2, which will include the tropical island of Karamja and the more dismal cuisine of Mortania. As always, like the video if you liked it, and if you didn't, downvote the shit out of it. Bye.